Hare Krishna. So, welcome everyone on our Tuesday evening Bhagavad Gita call. Thank you for joining. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinim Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So once again, welcome everyone. So last time we were discussing Bhagavad Gita Chapter 2, text number 12 to 16, 15 we discussed last time, where Lord Krishna is talking about, started describing the nature of the body and the soul, talking about the difference in body and soul, and the word used is Deha and Dehi. Lord Krishna doesn't directly refer as the body here and or the concept of soul, but he's talking about Dehi, one who is embodied within the body. So, and Lord Krishna talk about that one should try to tolerate the various situation. First is the situation of distress. Do not lament what is not worthy of lamentation. And then Lord Krishna speak about one should tolerate even the situation of happiness also, not just the situation of distress. So the text number 14, where Lord Krishna is saying, the text number 14 talk about the distress or the dualities of life which happen because of happiness and distress, heat and cold. They are all temporary in nature and one should try to control. One should try to tolerate those situations. Matra sparshas tu kanteya shitoshna sukha dukkha agma apayano anityastam titikshasva bharata. One should tolerate all these various dualities. And why? What is the result of tolerating all these different situations, different dualities, disturbances caused by even happiness and distress? Because in happiness also people are sometimes lose control. Right? So Lord Krishna is telling one need to understand or tolerate both situation. And if somebody tolerate all these various dualities, they are eligible for liberation. And that is text number 15. Amritatvaya sakalpate. The one achieves liberation. So if somebody is on the path of spiritual life and they tolerate all various calamities or various disturbances, loss and gain, fame and infamy, all these things, one is able to enter into the spiritual kingdom. Or within this material world also, one becomes famous, right? One is remembered. He becomes Amar, Amritatvaya, because the people within this world also who do not give up their goals, their path, even though there may be so many disturbances, sometimes there is a lot of calamities there, but they continue moving forward, marching forward. So they ultimately gain and they become famous in this material world also. So up to this point, Lord Krishna is talking Arjuna, kind of encouraging him to do his duty without worrying about the result. If there is some misery going to come in his terminology, because he was thinking I will lose happiness if I kill all the family members. Now text number 16 onwards we'll discuss today, where Lord Krishna start to describe the qualities of the living entity, the difference between the body and the soul. So text number 16 is very important from that perspective, from that point of view, where Lord Krishna describes the difference in the non-existent nature or the existent nature, the eternal soul and the temporary material body. नास्तो विद्यते भावो न भावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तस्त्वनयोर्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः. Those who are the seer of the truth, tattvadarshibhi. So those who are the seer of the truth, they have concluded by understanding the nature of both. What are these both? That the material body, which is non-permanent, that there is no endurance. And for the eternal, the soul, there is no cessation. So the body, no matter how much somebody try to safeguard, there is no endurance. Ultimately, it has to end. Nasto vidyate bhavo. And na bhavo vidyate satah. And for the soul, for the eternal, there is no change, no cessation. That will continue to exist. So here Lord Krishna is talking about two different aspects. One is eternal in nature and one is temporary in nature. Like in the Vedanta, they use this terminology. Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. So Asat and Sat. Na Asto. So that is not Satya. That is not real. Vidyate Bhavo. The thing which we sometimes consider to be real, that is not real. This body, we think to be everything. This body to be real, but it's not real. And what people do not understand, which is the living entity, the soul, they do not pay attention to that, but that is the eternal truth. That is Satya. So there are two different things here. Body is temporary and the soul is eternal. There is no end to the soul. Some characteristic we acquire along the way, which are the borrowed characteristic, which are the temporary characteristic. And some characteristics are intrinsic in the nature. For example, if I give you boiled potato, right now that boiled potato is very hot in nature. But before that, the potato was not hot, or later on, after some time also, the potato will not remain hot. So this potato has acquired that quality of heat from somewhere. Now, from where that hot potato has acquired that quality, maybe from the hot water in which it was kept for a long time. So the hot potato has acquired that quality from that hot water. So it's a borrowed quality, right? It's not its real nature. It's borrowed quality. And then from the water, from where the water got that hotness, that heat, it got from the pan, right? The water is kept in that pan, and from that pan it has acquired that quality. So for water also, it's not the real intrinsic quality, it's also borrowed quality. And from where did the pan acquire that heat? It acquired from the fire, from that flame. Now, is that flame, from where did that flame got that heat? The flame has that intrinsic quality. The flame, the heat, the fire has that heat. When the fire is present, that heat is automatically there. So same way, the body, this body is temporary. It acquires certain qualities because of the presence of the soul, right? So this body is not permanent in nature, and the soul which is residing within the body, that is permanent in nature. For the soul, there is no cessation. Now here the people may think this world is illusion. We say this world is mithya. Actually, this world is not mithya. This is also reality. We may call it as illusion, but ultimately this illusion is also Krishna's Maya, Krishna's illusion. Somebody may say it is illusion, or when we say this wall is illusion, if we say, oh, this world is all illusion, it means whatever is in this world, that is illusion. This wall is also illusion. So if I just walk through into the wall, if I just go and bump into the wall, I am going to get hurt, right? I will ultimately go bang in the wall and it will hurt. So it's like the dream. The dream is not real, but when we are inside the dream, everything in the dream appears to be real. And when we come out of the dream, we think, oh no, no, nothing was there. It was all imagination. It was all illusion only. So illusion is our inability to see in connection with Krishna. When we see things in connection with Krishna, then everything is actually connected to Krishna, and everything in that way we can move forward towards Krishna. We cannot see the soul because of the spiritual nature of the soul. It's not that because of the too small size. Yes, soul is very small in size also, but that's not the real reason why we cannot see the soul. The soul is spiritual in nature, and with our naked eyes, we cannot see the soul. But the truth is, this material body is destructible. This is temporary in nature. And the soul is permanent. For the soul, there is no cessation, there is no death for the soul. And then Krishna in the next verses talk about the qualities of the soul. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvam idam tatam vinasham avyasya yasya na kaschit kartum arhati. The soul which pervades the entire body, you should know it to be indestructible. Avinashi. Avinashi tu tadvidhi. So this soul is indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Vinasham avyayasya. So this soul is avyaya. Avyaya means imperishable. So there's two words used here, avinashi and avyaya. What is the difference in these two? Avinashi means which is indestructible, which cannot be destroyed by external efforts. Right? We cannot destroy the soul by external efforts. And avyaya means it's imperishable by itself, that it does not destroy itself also with the passage of time. Let's say for the body, right? Body, if nobody even destroy the body, still with the time the body is going to perish. It is going to grow old and ultimately it's going to die. So body is perishable. There is expiry date for the body. Like you go to the market and anything which we buy in the market, there is always expiry date with that. You go buy medicine. For the medicine, there is an expiry date. You go buy milk, there is expiry date on the milk. On your any other eatable object, there is an expiry date on that. So as soon as the thing is manufactured, there is expiry date also put on that. So it means it's perishable, even if somebody doesn't physically destroy that object. But for the soul, soul is described here as imperishable, that the soul does not destroy by itself also, and it cannot be destroyed by external efforts also. Later on, text number 23, Krishna will talk about it cannot be burnt by fire, it cannot be destroyed by wind, it cannot be cut by any weapon into pieces, it cannot be drowned by water. So all these different things are mentioned. So generally, one object destroys sometime another object by pervading in it. Right? Like if you shot somebody, the bullet enters into the body, so the bullet pervades the body and it kills that person. Or if the person drowns inside the water, so water enter inside the body and water pervades the body, it can kill that person. So one object can destroy another object, but soul, Atma, cannot be pervaded by anything. It cannot be penetrated by anything, because Atma itself pervades everything. The soul enters into something and then that object becomes, that matter becomes living, right? That matter becomes active. So the soul is sitting in the core of the heart, as Krishna mentions at a couple of places in Bhagavad Gita, Hridayashaham Hridayasha Nivishto, that I am also seated in everybody's heart. And the soul is also residing at the core of the heart. And from the soul, the consciousness is spread all over the body. So there is one particular verse which talk about this point, that because of the presence of soul, the consciousness is spread all over the body. And how the consciousness spread all over the body, that mechanism is given through the flow of the blood. Right? Wherever there is any veins flowing in the body, wherever the bloodstream is flowing, there is presence of consciousness also. We talk about in the terms of nerves. Wherever the nerves are flowing within the body, we can have that sense perception. And wherever there is no nerve present, there is no vein present basically, then there is no sensation in that. For example, when you cut your hair, right? The hair itself, when you cut the hair, you don't feel that pain because there is no bloodstream flowing, or there are no veins in, or the no sense, the nerves flowing inside that. But if you pull the hair hard enough from the skull, inside the skull there is the nerves flowing up to the skull and the bloodstream flowing up to the skull. So there, then you have the sense perception. Same way cutting the nails of the finger, right? When the nails are grown too much and you cut the nails, you don't feel that pain. But if you pinch the nail enough from the finger, their nerve is there or the bloodstream is flowing, you feel that pain. So the consciousness is spread all over the body, and the physical mechanism is based on the presence of these nerves and the veins in the body. But the soul is the root cause of spreading this consciousness throughout the body. Now, people may say heart is giving energy to the whole body through the blood, but from where heart is getting that energy? Right? That is presence of the soul. Now, there are many other medical related question may come. Sometimes people may say, oh, if the soul is in the heart, then what happened during heart surgery? What happened during heart transplant? When one person's heart is taken out and another heart is put into that body, what does happen? Then does one soul leaves and another soul enters, somebody else's soul, because we are putting somebody else's heart in the body? So some other soul is coming into the body then? No, because one need to understand, see, the soul is sitting inside the core of the heart. So the heart is like the seat, and the soul is the actual person who is sitting in that seat. So when the heart is taken out, the seat is taken out, doesn't mean the person sitting in the seat also taken out. For example, you are sitting in one chair here. If I remove that chair and I want to bring another chair, it doesn't mean when I throw the old chair out that I am also thrown out. So I move up and I bring another chair, I sit again in the new chair. The same way, when the heart transplant takes place, it doesn't mean the soul also moves and the new soul is coming out. It is a change of the seat for the soul. And sometimes people may protest about killing of the innocent people, right? We see there are so many protests when some such incident happen. Somebody is innocent person is killed in some accident or something. There is a protest there. If you ask that person, okay, you are protesting about this person, that is okay, that's all right. We should not be killing somebody whimsically. But tell me what really happens at the time of death, or what really happens after death to that person. So if somebody really think deeply into that, right, if they don't have the understanding of the soul, the Atma, what they say generally, oh, we are all chemicals and we just mix with chemicals. That's what science says. We are just lump of matter. We are the lump of bunch of chemicals, and ultimately we will mix up in chemicals. Okay, then what is so big fuss about death? Right? Why to cry about this death? Then doesn't make a difference if you throw a bottle of Coke or Pepsi in the ocean, or you throw a person in the ocean, because both are ultimately a lump of matter, lump of chemicals only. And somebody, no, but we have feelings. We are living entity and we have feelings. Okay, so we have feeling. What is the source behind those feelings? Like, what is that source which is making a difference between a dead matter and a living matter? So that is the presence of soul. Because of the presence of soul, there is consciousness spread throughout the body, and because of the presence of consciousness, there is feeling, there is emotion. So that is the presence of soul which makes the difference. Why we feel connection with the particular person. So the soul is indestructible and the soul is imperishable. These two qualities are mentioned here. Then moving forward, 218, Krishna further talk about the further qualities. Antavantah ime deha nityo saktah sharirina anashino apremeyasya tasmad yudhyasva bharatah. Body is temporary and will come to an end. Antavanta ime deha. So this body is temporary and this body will definitely come to an end. Nityo saktah sharirina anashino apremeyasya nitya. So this soul is nitya, eternal. It is indestructible, anashino, and immeasurable, apremeyasya. So here further three qualities are described for the soul. Nitya, it's eternal in nature. Anashino, again, it's indestructible. And apremeyasya, this is immeasurable. Aprameyasya means it's invisible, basically. One cannot see the soul. So it is as if Arjuna said that, okay, I am going to, if you are asking me to fight, I am going to shoot arrows, right, at all these people who have assembled here. But about if my arrow destroy or harm the soul? So here the size of the soul is described. It's both literal and metaphorical. It is literal means the size of the soul is described as if you take the tip of the hair and cut that tip of the hair into 100 pieces. You take one of such piece and again further cut into 100 pieces. That is described like the tip of the hair, the size of the soul. So it's a very vague dimension. So yes, the literal meaning is soul is really, really small in nature. And it doesn't mean that there is no size or shape for the soul. Yes, in spiritual world, there is the dimension of the soul. Right now in the material world, the soul is described as such a tiny piece. And it's a metaphorical also in the nature that soul is not dimensionless. That's why it is described here as apremeyasya. It's immeasurable. It's very small size. That's why it's described as immeasurable from our material calculations. And then it is so small that even nothing can pass through this. So Arjuna, if Arjuna thinks that, oh, if I'm going to shoot the arrows, if one of my arrow pierces through the soul also, then the person, even though we are saying the body is temporary, it's the soul which is residing in the body. But if the soul also gets harmed, no, because soul is very small in nature, and first of all, it's indestructible. It cannot be destructed. Even if somebody shoots thousands of arrows, it cannot cut the soul. Here, Krishna is telling as a direct statement to Arjuna that you should fight. Tasmat yudhyasva bharata. So some of the verses or instructions of Krishna are non-direct, basically, as a non-direct instruction, more for information point of view. But this particular statement, Krishna is directly telling Arjuna, so you should fight. Like a doctor can give a lot of information. Okay, if you have lung infection or kidney infection or something, but that is all the information. Right? He can tell, oh, when the lung information happen or the kidney infection happen, this can happen, that can happen. All that is information. But what is the real instruction is, oh, you should take this medicine in this particular way. Right? So that is instruction. So there is a difference in information and instruction. Here, Krishna is giving all these various information about the soul, about the nature of the soul. But ultimately, Krishna is giving instruction to Arjuna that you should do your duty. Therefore, you should do your duty of fighting here. Don't get attached to anybody, because the soul never dies. There is no death for the soul, and everybody continue to exist. Natvevaham yatu nasham natve neme janadhipa. In 2.12, Krishna already said everybody was existing earlier. We are all existing now also, and we will continue to exist later on also. Now, does this mean if we are not the body, we are the soul, and the soul does not die? Does it give a license to kill somebody? Right? That we can kill anybody, it does not matter because the soul never dies. So there are two very important verses here to understand this particular concept. 2.19 and 2.21, where Krishna talk about this particular statement, which may be misleading for people in general, and we have to understand it in a real, the real meaning behind that. Here Krishna says 2.19, ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhau tanna vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. So ubhayo tanna vijanito nayam hanti nahanyate. So if somebody thinks that the soul can slay, and one who thinks the soul can be slain, both are not in knowledge, because the soul neither kills nor it can be killed. So that is 2.19, where Krishna says the soul, neither the soul can kill somebody nor the soul can be killed by somebody. And if somebody thinks the soul can slay or the soul can be slayed, both are not in knowledge. And then 2.21, Krishna says, Veda avinashinam nityam ya enam ajam avyayam katham saha purushah partha kam ghatyanti hantikam. O Partha, how can one who knows the soul to be indestructible, eternal, unborn, and imperishable, how can that kill anybody or cause anyone to kill? Right? So both this statement, when somebody hear these two shlokas, two statements, somebody may think, okay, so I am not killing anybody because soul cannot kill anybody and soul cannot be killed also. So it means, does it mean Krishna is promoting whimsical killing here? That it does not matter if somebody kills somebody or somebody get killed, it does not matter at all? Is it promoting whimsical killing? So we need to understand in a bigger context here, how the scriptures talk about these particular statement or these particular point. See, the Vedic injunction is Ma hinsayat sarva bhutani. Never commit violence to anyone. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Right? Non-violence is the real dharma, the eternal dharma. So it is not that one can commit or whimsical killing, or even it does not promote even animal slaughter also. One should not think, oh, soul cannot be killed, so if I kill the animal, what is the harm? Ultimately, they will get a new body. That is not the point here. Point is, one need to understand their dharma, and for protection of dharma, if somebody is punishing somebody, that can be justified. So one need to understand when the violence is justified and when the violence is condemned. So when does the violence is justified? If the violence is happening for executing dharma or to establish dharma, that time the violence can be justified. If the violence is done to bring peace in the society, that violence is justified. If the violence is committed to cause pain to others, suffering to others, that violence is not justified. For example, the militants, the terrorists, they attacking, doing the bomb blast and whimsically shooting people and killing people. Now, that violence is not justified. But on the contrary, if the police comes there and they kill those terrorists, right, because they were causing harm to others, they were killing innocent people. So the police, they kill the terrorists, they also commit the violence. That is also violence, but that violence is justified, which is to bring peace in the society. So that is the difference in the violence, which at what stage violence is justified and when the violence is condemned. For example, another example is doctor. Now, the doctor may also use a knife. The doctor uses a knife and make a cut on the body of the patient. One may say, oh, how this person is committing violence on somebody's body. He is cutting the body, piercing the body, and harming that body. But no, the doctor is not harming that body. Doctor is trying to cure the patient by making the cut and by removing the unwanted diseased organ, the diseased cells from the body. So in that way, to a material eye, it may seem to be a violence, but that's not violence. Another example is the judge. When the judge rewards any punishment, right? When judge says death sentence to be given to somebody or lifetime imprisonment to be given to somebody. Now, is the judge committing violence there? He is giving that particular punishment to relieve the person from his future suffering. Because of his karmic reaction, he has to suffer so much. So this punishment is to cure him, relieve him from all that karmic reaction. Now, people with the human rights, they may make a big agenda out of that, big fuss out of that, right? When there is some death sentence given these days, the human right people make a big fuss out of this. How can they kill somebody or give a death sentence like that? But the death sentence, even to the abominable criminal, is for their own betterment to relieve that person from their future suffering. So we need to understand very clearly here what is the meaning behind these two verses when Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to engage in violence by saying that soul is indestructible. So do not think that you are killing all of them, you are destroying all of them. And do not think that you are destroying, because the soul neither kills or the soul can not be killed also. So Krishna is just provoking Arjuna to do his duty as a Kshatriya, to punish all the miscreants who have done so much of injustice earlier. So that is the message behind these two verses. So that's why I took 2.19 and 2.21 together, because the message of both these verses is same here. And then 2.20, Krishna talk about further nature of the soul. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्य शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, ajo, nitya, eternal, shashwata, permanent, and purano, the oldest. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So when the body is destroyed, when the body is slain, the soul is not slain. So Krishna also further talk about the qualities of the soul here. The soul does not take birth at any point of time. Soul is eternal. So there is no tracking or tracing the history of the existence of soul, at what point of time the soul came into existence. Soul is eternal in nature. It's unborn, ajo and nitya. And then it's permanent, shashwata, and it's oldest. So neither the soul take birth nor does it die. When the body dies, soul does not die. Now, ajo refer to soul not having to come into existence at a particular time. Right? Soul is beyond the dimensions of time. And all the characteristic of the body, that does not apply on the soul. See, the body has 6 transformations. The body takes birth, then the body grows, then it maintains, then there is a production of byproducts, then it starts to dwindle, and then further it dies. So these are the 6 transformation of the body. We all have taken birth, right? And then from that infant, we grew to an older body. And then we maintained this body for a certain time. Then there is byproducts. We produce children. And then this body continue to grow and it grows old. And then ultimately everybody dies. This body dies. So there are 6 transformation of the body, but it does not apply on the soul. All the characteristic of the body does not apply. Soul never takes birth. Now the concept of soul in different religious tradition is talked about differently. In Buddhism, there is reincarnation, but there is no concept of soul. So what is the meaning of reincarnation without the concept of soul? Then who is continuing after this life? Who is continuing? So their concept is that there is no soul right now also, and there is no soul later also. It is just the stream of consciousness which flows. So they reject the Vedas, like in Buddhism, they reject the Vedas to avoid animal slaughter. And they just accept it from the moral point of view, to make it more moral, that okay, we just want to don't kill the animal, and but they do not accept the existence of soul. Now in Christianity also there is a concept of soul, but they do not have concept of reincarnation. Their concept is soul is semi-eternal. There is no pre-existence. Now soul came into existence, and later on also the soul will not exist. So when somebody dies, they just either go eternally to hell or eternally to heaven. Right? That is the concept of soul and reincarnation in Christianity. Actually, if we see originally in Christianity, the concept of reincarnation was accepted, if not explicitly or implicitly. So in some way, the concept of reincarnation was accepted there. Because if we take some of the statements in Bible, where Jesus talk about blind man, why is that person blind, why that person is born blind, maybe because of his past deeds or his parents past deeds. That is the reference there. So it means there is a concept of soul, that this person was existing earlier, and because of the past misdeed he has got this particular reaction now. And there is also a statement in Bible which says, as you sow, so shall you reap. Right? That is law of karma. So Jesus did not reject this idea that the person could have done something wrong earlier. So there maybe he has a previous existence. So if there is a pre-existence and then there is an afterlife also, both are included in this concept of reincarnation. We were existing earlier, now also we are existing, and we will continue to exist later on. So this is both pre-existence and post-existence are included in reincarnation. So in the current form of Christianity, this pre-existence is not accepted. Now, there are different conception among different religious faiths about understanding the nature of soul. But why something bad happened, it's not possible to explain without the understanding of the soul, the karma, and the reincarnation principle. Right? If we say why this person is born in a particular situation, why somebody is born wealthy, somebody is born poor, why somebody is born healthy, why somebody is born with diseased body or a deformed body, why somebody is enjoying in this life, why somebody is suffering in this life, all that cannot be explained without the acceptance of the soul, karma, and reincarnation principle. If we say God is all good, accepting God's goodness or his all-loving nature, it becomes difficult to perceive when God is seen as partial being, right? Because if we don't understand the concept of soul, karma, reincarnation, then why somebody is born poor, somebody is born rich, why somebody is born diseased or somebody born healthy, it means God is partial. Then he is not all loving to everybody, he is not equal to everybody. So why does all that happen is because of the person's their own karma. It's not that God is partial. Their own karma are bringing these particular different reactions for them. For example, understanding the example of a test match, right? Test cricket match. Now, if the first inning is already over, one team made 200 runs, the second team made 400 runs in the first inning. So they are leading by 200. Now the second inning started. So if one of the viewer, right, one of the in the stadium, somebody just walks in during the second inning, and the scoreboard shows India 0, Australia 200, and the person may say, "Oh, this is partiality. One team is at 0, and other person is already awarded 200 score." So that's not right. But he doesn't understand there was a previous inning also where somebody played only made less score and other had gained over by 200 runs. So they are carrying over their this credit from the previous inning. So same way in our life, somebody is suffering and somebody is enjoying because they are carrying up their rewards from their previous lives based on the karma accumulated. If we say everything is happening by chance, there is no soul, there is no karma, there is no reincarnation, everything just happened by chance. That promotes helplessness, right? So either we come to the conclusion God is partial, he is not all loving, or he is not all powerful, or even worse, then we can promote that how can we then develop love of God when the God acts arbitrarily? Right? If everything is just happening by chance, God has no control, or he is partial to others, then how can we develop love for such God? So all this is possible to understand with the concept of understanding the soul and the past life karma. Then it solves all the puzzle. So that is 2.20, where Krishna is explaining about the nature of the soul. The soul does not die, it has never taken birth. And then the text 22 is very important. वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति navani dehi. So here Krishna says, as a human being gives up old garment and puts up new garments, similarly the soul accepts a new body after giving up the old and useless one. So this is one of the very important verses to understand what type of body one will get, what type of destination one will get. Who decides that, right? Who decide what will I get in the next life? So here this verse very clearly explain what happens to the soul. The soul acquires a new body. So as we give up old clothes and put on new clothes, the soul similarly puts on the new body, giving up the old and useless one. So the first thing to understand is the soul, when it leaves the body, the soul leaves through the 9 holes in the body. Krishna will explain that later, that there are 9 holes in the body, and this is how this soul leaves. What are these 9 holes in the body? There are the 2 eyes, there are 2 pores in the eyes, there are 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, and then the genital and anus. So these are the 9 holes in the body, and the soul leaves through one of these 9 holes. Some people focus too much on, at the time of death, how my soul will leave the body, because it's going to determine the destination based on that. If the soul leaves through by breaking the upper chakra, the skull, then it says it goes to the higher abode. So sometimes the people are too much concerned about from where will the soul leave, and they want to break apart that chakra and move upward. But we don't have to bother about, okay, from where the soul leaves. All we have to bother is basically to remember Krishna at the time of death. Because Krishna will explain in 8th chapter, Antkale cha mameva smarana bhuktva kalevaram. When somebody leaves the body at the time of death, if they remember me at that time, then they attain me. Then they don't have to take birth again in this material world. So the how the soul leaves, from which hole the soul leaves, is not important. What is more important is, are we able to remember Krishna at the time of death or not? And the soul is having this body just as a dress. This body is just like a dress. As for the body, we put on these clothes to dress the body. Same way, the body itself is the dress for the soul. And we say there are 8.4 million species of life, means there are 8.4 million varieties of dresses available for the soul. And based on our desire, what type of dress we want to choose for the soul, we can get that type of dress. Right? So there are aquatic dresses, there are animal dresses, there are bird dresses, there are reptile dresses, there are tree dresses, and there are human beings. All these are different dresses for the soul. Like within this world, we have that experience. If somebody want to go dive deep inside the water and they want to stay long in the water, they put a diving suit, because the diving suit is suitable for the person to live in that particular environment. We are not made to live in that environment, but to make ourselves comfortable in that environment, we pick a dress, we put a diving suit so we can live under the water. Same way somebody go to the space, the space travelers, right? They put on a space suit so that they can live in that environment. So we put up a particular dress, a particular type of suit to live in that particular environment. So same way the soul is not meant to live in this material world. But if we want to come in this material world, we want to exist in this material world, then a particular type of suit is also given to the soul. A particular type of dress is also given to the soul so that you can live in this material world. So there are 8.4 million varieties of these material dresses available. And we can pick and choose what type of dress we want. For example, if you go to the market, if you go to a store and you want to buy a particular dress, if there is a salesperson, the salesperson will say, okay, sir, tell me what type of dress you want. And you may say, I want to buy a silk suit, or I want to buy a cotton shirt. Right? So you specify a particular type of thing. Now within that also, there may be so many different varieties. So it's in the range of $100,000 to the range of maybe $5-10. So there are different varieties available within that particular thing also, in silk or in cotton. So same way in animal species is one type where also there are so many different varieties available. Aquatic species, this is one type. Within that there are so many different varieties available. So when you want to go in a store and buy a dress, it depends what type of dress you want and how much money you have in your pocket, what you desire and what you deserve. Based on that, it decides what type of dress you will be able to buy finally. So same way, what type of body we get depends on our desire and what kind of bank balance we have, as a karmic bank balance we have. If somebody has a desire to eat flesh, somebody is too much attached to eating meat, eating flesh. Okay, there are the animal forms, there are different animal forms which eat flesh. So one may be able to get one type of that body depending on their karmic reaction. So it depends on our karma and our desire. It's not just by desire. One cannot simply desire, I want to be born in the family of Tata Birlas or in the family of Ambanis. Ultimately, do we have that type of bank balance to be born into a rich family or not? For another example to understand is if somebody is living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Now, they can either move to a 3-bedroom apartment or to a bungalow, or they can move to a studio apartment based on how much they have in their pocket. So if they have more in their pocket, they may be able to acquire a bigger apartment or a bigger bungalow. Or if they're not able to pay the rent of a 2-bedroom apartment, they may have to demote. They may have to settle with a studio apartment also, maybe. So we are dressed for and dressed by our desires. That is the type of body we get. And there is no termination at the end of the body. There is a new beginning. It's not that by the finish of body, everything is finished. It's a new beginning. So when we say new beginning, it means it doesn't always have to be painful. If it cannot be pleasant, at least it doesn't have to be painful also. So when somebody dies in the family, right, dies in our social circle, we may think that this person now is going to the new destination. And let me help him prepare best for his next destination. Let me help him to prepare for the best destination. So that's what the process we recommend, that somebody, if they give up their body while remembering Krishna, or at least they're surrounded by the devotees, there is a kirtan going on, all that. So we are trying to help that person to prepare for the best destination. So that's what the consciousness should be. Death is not end of everything. It's not termination. It's a new beginning. They're going on a new journey. So if it cannot be pleasant, at least we don't have to make it painful also. It is just that we were all together now. Now we are separating. Our paths are separating now. Just like you are traveling in a train or you travel in an aeroplane. When you're traveling, you meet many different people. There may be somebody comes and sit next to you. So you are with that person for few hours. And when the destination comes, everybody goes to their own paths. But everybody continue to exist. They are just moving to their own paths, their further destinations. So same way, death is also like that. We are just getting separated. We are moving on to our next destinations. So one does not have to think it as a termination, or one should understand this body itself is a dress for the soul. As we give up the old dress and put on a new dress, same way the soul gives up the old and useless body and acquires a new body. Now, it may not necessarily be always old and useless body, because somebody may die at an early age also. As a child also, somebody may die. But one has to understand that much was this particular dress for them was meant for this much time only. Right? You wear a particular dress for particular duration only. For example, somebody may have a very fancy wedding dress. So that dress was meant only for that occasion. You don't continue wearing that dress in your routine life also. Somebody may have acquired a particular life form only for shorter duration to fulfill that particular purpose based on their previous life, previous karma, previous bank balance of karma. And after finishing up that, they are moving forward now. So two very important point to understand: body is the dress for the soul, and by the finishing of this body, it's not the termination of everything. It's a new beginning. It's a new journey. So text 23, very briefly we'll discuss that in 2 minutes and then stop here. Again, very important verse. As we mentioned, Krishna is telling Arjuna, this soul cannot be destroyed by any means. It's indestructible and it's imperishable. So text 23, Krishna says, Nanam chindanti shastrani, nanam dahati pavakah, na chainam kaledyanti apo, na shoshyati marutah. The soul is not destroyed by any weapon. Nanam chindanti shastrani. It cannot be cut to pieces by any weapon. Nanam dahati pavaka. It cannot be burnt by fire. Na cha enam kaledyanti apo. The soul cannot be dissolved by water. No shoshati maruta. It cannot be dried up or withered by the wind. So the things which can harm the body, they actually cannot harm the soul. We see in this material world, there are so many natural calamities also happen, which is sometime there may be a forest fire, which can consume everything, which can destroy a lot of things. There are weapons, the swords and the bullets, which can destroy the body. Then the water, sometimes there is flooding, which kills many people. And sometimes there is tornado and all, which can just uproot the buildings also. So all these various things can destroy the material things, material objects and material bodies, but none of these things can destroy the soul. Right? So there are so many modern weapons. They control the material nature through technology. All these things can be, all these new modern weapon can be based on these different material elements. Now, if these weapons fall into the wrong hands, they can cause so much of destruction. If they fall into the untrained hands or irresponsible hand, they can cause destruction, like the atom bombs, the nuclear bombs, these missiles, these guns which are getting into wrong hands, right? People want to carry pistols, guns, and ultimately they use it for destructing purpose. So all these things, when they fall in wrong hands, can cause so much of destruction. But originally, all these are the material elements, the nature elements like the rain, wind, tornado, fire. All these are the natural elements which are controlled by the devatas, they're controlled by the demigods. So in the Vedic times, we hear about all the weapons which are based on these material elements. And people could gain these weapons by pleasing some of those demigods. By satisfying those, they will be able to acquire those weapons. For example, Arjuna, right? Arjuna gained many weapons. He got weapon from Lord Shiva, his Pashupatastra, then he got weapon from Indra, he got weapon from Brahma, his Brahmastra. Brahmastra is like the nuclear weapon. So all these weapons were based on the material elements which are controlled by the demigods. And if somebody pleases by their austerities, by their so much of tapasya, they can please that particular demigod and acquire that weapon. But now, based on this modern technological advancement, we are producing all these weapons which are accessible for everybody. And anybody can misuse those to destroy others, to cause undiscriminated violence on others. But the overall theme of these verses here, what Krishna is telling is, the soul cannot be destroyed. The soul is eternal in nature. When the body destroys, the soul continues to exist. So the nature of soul, understanding the nature of soul, it can put it at ease when we understand that, yes, we are just getting separated, our paths are separating at the time of death. It's not the end of everything. Like the two blade of grass, when the wind blows, then two blade of grass can come together. And when the opposite wind flows, they can get separated also. So same way, we come across many people in our life, we stay with them for some time, and then we all just move apart to our own different paths. And one should not cause lamentation because of that. Na shochitum arhasi. So one should not lament for what is not worthy of lamentation. So I will stop here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Let's see if there is any discussion here. Any questions, comments, discussion? Nobody? Anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Soul never take birth or never die. But after body dies, and where does body comes after next? Like that new body come means soul enter, right? So that means birth.
That means birth. Yes, that birth is for the body. That birth is not for the soul. That is the
Oh.
birth for the body.
How does body come from? Like that
So
is
there
who
is a whole
like Krishna decided, we know, but soul entered, right? That new body, that is
right. So
the
the
one type of birth.
new body is produced based on our previous karmic reaction, based on our previous desires. We again enter. So first of all, there's a whole detailed discussion how the soul take rest, where the soul take shelter. So the soul enters through the semen of the father into the embryo of the mother, and by the combination of that, then the new body starts to generate. That's how the new body's birth take place, and the body grows because of the presence of soul. So because of the presence of soul only, the new body grows. As I said, there are 6 transformations for the body. The body takes birth, then the body grows, it maintains, then it again produces byproducts also, and then it continue to grow older and it finishes. So because of the presence of soul, all these transformations are taking place. So the, let's say, the living entity, because we have the soul presence in our body, we have the consciousness available. So the living entity can produce another living entity because of the presence of soul. But the dead matter cannot produce another dead matter. Right? The table, the chair is not going to produce another chair. No matter if it continue to be here for 100 years, 1,000 years, one chair is not going to divide into 2 chairs, or one chair is not going to give birth to another chair. So the birth happens by the presence of soul and because of the soul. And then the new soul enters through the semen, it gives birth to another body. The body continues, starts to grow in that way. So there's a whole topic, right? We discussed about this particular topic, the journey of soul after death, how the journey, the soul continue to travel after death, and what all takes place. So in brief, the body, yes, the body takes birth because of the presence of soul.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Okay.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Okay, anything else? Okay, if nothing else, then we will end it here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.